If you could change any choices you have ever made, would you? You can always make another choice and change the course of your success. Everyone has the potency to make inspired choices. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the creativity that is you. Now, here is the host of Inspired Choices radio show, Holographist coach, Christine McIver.
Hey, my friends. Welcome. Yes, I am Christine McIver, and we have another show tonight that we're going to be talking all about, we're going to be talking about foreplay. And we're talking about foreplay, and you can apply it in any area, including sex. The emphasis is going to be a little bit more on creation and business, but you can apply most of what's going to be talked about tonight to any area of your life. And that's what I'm going to invite you into. And what the heck is this all about? Well, we'll get there in just a second. Before we jump into the tonight's show, I want to talk to you about what it is that I create in the world that I invite you into. So one of my creations is the world is actually this network, the Inspired Choices Network. This is a platform where we bring conscious voices to the world, people that are desiring to step up, step out, be more visible, and really bring their contribution out to others that are looking for what they are very aware of. Now, some of you may not really know what that is, but as you start to lean into what lights you up and what's easy for you, and that pull that you keep receiving over and over and over again in your life, that's where these amazing creators come forth, and they bring that to the world. And this is one of the most exciting things that I have created, and I get to play with people every single day here on the Inspired Choices Network. So if you're someone that has a message, if you're someone that loves to teach, you're someone that loves to invite people to step into more of who they are and what they desire to be in the world, maybe you're someone that loves to help other people, loves to guide. Maybe you are a natural teacher, or maybe you just love thought-provoking conversations. This could be the network for you. We make it so easy. It's a turnkey operation, really, where you can just step in and start speaking and start being all of you without worrying about the technical issues, about the logistics, and we get your voice out across the internet on, up to over 200 platforms, both in radio and in TV. You have your own radio show, your own podcast show, and your own TV show. It is so fun. And this is one of the greatest, largest, most obvious creations that I have brought into the world. So if this is something that is interesting you, or you're just curious, I'd love to have a conversation with you. You can reach me at Christine at inspiredchoices.ca. Feel free to call me. My number is 519-574-2199. Or come on over to inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. Check it out, and you can always find how to contact me from here. So I'll let you know more about what I do create in the world, but let's get into tonight's show. Oh my gosh. So are you all foreplay without follow through? That's what tonight's show is all about. So foreplay in business, what does that actually mean? Have you ever thought about foreplay in business? Do you talk about what you're going to do? Do you refer to a creation and the excitement of creating it and then stop dead in your tracks when it comes to the actual action of creation? Do your words match your action? Oh my goodness. This is certainly something that I have absolutely done. And honestly, my friends, I still have to hold myself accountable to what is really coming out of my mouth and the actions that I'm following through on. So this is not something that, maybe is totally easy for each of us and very, very quick to come forth. But it is absolutely an area that we can lean into and start to massage and be with in a new way to create greater in our lives and in our business. So let's talk about, first of all, if you've been listening to some of the shows of late, last week I talked about proving you're doing business by working hard instead of smart. That show was such a big eye-opener, and it's certainly not something that I have not spoken to in the past, but it was a big eye-opener in a lot of areas in regards to what we look at and what the real definitions of the word work are and where that actually is coming from within us. So this show follows on the tail of that, because if you believe you have to work hard, there is a very strong probability that you are doing an uphill battle of pushing through tasks and completely sidelining creation. And this is where the foreplay thought came in. So let's look at, first of all, what the word foreplay means. It's oh my gosh, I love looking this up. So foreplay came through, it's a noun, and it came through in 1921 in a sexual sense. For and play come together in for pleasure. And a more direct translation was from the German word be throttled by the sense drift in English, lust. Oh my gosh, this is so rich to me. There was a poem which Mr. Brooks translated into prolong to the swelling theme. Oh my gosh, isn't that so cool? So look at the word foreplay, to prolong. How many of you have been prolonging your desire by not following through on what you know will create greater in your business? Oh, I'm going to say that again. How many of you have been prolonging your desire by not following through on your desires? That is boom. Do you ever find yourself in that space of, oh my gosh, this takes me back so far. I'm going to go back to when I was first married. And, you know, the buildup and the excitement of something can be so tantalizing. And I remember the creation of my wedding. I got so excited. You know, I got a book and I started to write everything down, and I started to look at the wedding magazines and started to try on wedding dresses and looking at flowers and talking to friends and really getting into all the excitement of what the actual creation process was. So I was in the creation process. I was really, and sometimes, oh my gosh, how many people out there today are beginning to create their weddings years in advance, like 2 years in advance, and they have that process that just keeps building, like the excitement just keeps swelling for them, right? And I'll tell you, for me, I was so excited, and I stayed in the actual process of the building. And when it came to what was being created out of that, which was a marriage, I had not prepared for the marriage. I had not really looked at what was actually in front of me, what I was creating. And the marriage did not last long at all. A beautiful son came forth from that marriage, and I'm incredibly grateful. But when I look at that day, and when everything didn't turn out exactly the way that I wanted it to turn out, I became incredibly frustrated, to the point that I remember being driven to my hotel room that evening by my brother and his fiance. And I remember this so incredibly clearly, saying, today was the worst day of my life because so many things had gone wrong. I was living in the fantasy of the creation, not really being present with what my desires were. Is it possible that you are living in the fantasy of your desire without actually embodying and inviting yourself to be present with what truly could be possible? Oh boy. If that is something that you find yourself in the fantasy, we can look at that in maybe you have a fantasy of writing a book. Maybe you have a fantasy of being well known. Maybe you have a fantasy of having a great deal of money actually coming into your hands. A fantasy. The fantasy can actually keep you distracted by the possibility of something that's outside of you. It's an illusion, right? It can be your imagination can get so caught up in it that you actually miss what's truly right in front of you. When you're not willing to be present with your desires, you can miss the mark by a mile. Willing to be present with your desires is willing to ask the question of what's required here to bring this to actualization. Now, I am all about I'm all about fanning the flames of desire. Though that can be a fabulous contribution. But if you only stay in the foreplay, if you only stay where it's keeping you in the swelling and not in the truth of what is required, something that maybe needs to change, something that is important that you pay attention to, that can start to take you down a path of deep disappointment. If this is something that you have found yourself in, my friends, I want you to really look at, are you on a roller coaster with your business? Are you on a roller coaster of excitement and disappointment? Excitement and possibilities and deep, deep emptiness. Do you have a knowing when you are in a really wonderful space emotionally and mentally? Do you have a deep desire and then very quickly find yourself judging all of those thoughts because those thoughts and those experiences in the past have actually produced deep sadness? See, what can actually occur when you get excited, when these ideas, when you connect with the universe, when you connect with your business, when you connect with your desires within your business and what it is that you know you can bring forth and what your business wants to bring forth with you. When you do this, okay, what can actually happen is you can start to build a loop. You can start to build a loop of excitement, disappointment, excitement, expectation of disappointment, excitement, and deep regret. And what happens is the excitement starts to wane. You get an idea, you get a thought, and then it's drops. It drops faster and faster, oftentimes to the point of knowing that nothing will actually come of these ideas. We can actually set ourselves up to really just put out all of the desires, of all the possibilities that are trying to come through because of past experiences, and judging ourselves that we are all talk and no action, judging ourselves that we're full of shit. I remember those thoughts of thinking, Christine, you're full of shit. You don't follow through. You don't follow through. And that's not true. That's absolutely not true. But what is true is that I stayed in the fantasy without being present with what was required of me to be able to bring all of my desires and all of my possibilities to fruition. And I oftentimes stayed there too long, to the point that the excitement was no longer available, and therefore the idea would just fade away. If this is something that's going on for you, I want you to understand that that is not necessarily something you have to stay with. And it's something that you can change very, very quickly. But you've got to be in that space of desire to change and still have these you've got to be in that space of both desire and presence to take the actions. So, in order to bring a desire and excitement to the forefront, you've got to be willing to take action. And that's where many of us fall short. So we're going to go off to our first break of the show. I know we've got a couple people that have some questions. They're going to come on the line with us, and we're going to continue to talk about what is actually occurring in the foreplay of business. Stay tuned, everyone. You're listening to Christine McIver on the Inspired Choices show here on the Inspired Choices Network, and we'll be right back.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on our past experiences or what others believe. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire for our futures? When you join Inspired Choices radio show with holographist coach Christine McIver, you'll be provoked to look at what is true and what you know but may not choose that requires your attention. Christine does not hold back and brings all her expertise during each and every show. Are you ready to create the life and the living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices radio show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with holographist coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Oh, my friends, thank you so much for being here tonight. We are having a fun show, playing with words, playing on words, called Are You All Foreplay Without Follow Through? Now, when we look at that in sex, some people are They just tantalize us, and they actually don't follow through. And foreplay is beautiful because it begins to build up the excitement, and we actually begin to swell into our desires. But a lot of us are doing that in business without following through, and that's leaving us feeling empty, frustrated, and some people, actually, I know a number of people who have literally walked away from their business and the ideas that are trying to come through them, all of their creations, because they're not following through and they're not allowing the creations to contribute to them. And in this reality, one of the biggest ways is through financial prosperity. So I have my wonderful producer on the line tonight, Jen. Hi, Jen. Welcome to my show.
Hi, Christine. This show, I'm pretty sure, was made just for me. Just for me.
That's what you said. Do you tell me what popped when you read this title?
I am a foreplay master is what popped, actually. I am realizing that, I have so many good ideas, like great ideas, brilliant ideas, and my follow through is rough. It's rough.
So just playing with there's no right or wrong answer to this. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I follow through on all of them, where are you on there?
10 being I follow through with all of them, I would say I'm probably like a solid 6. I'm a solid 6.
A solid 6. That's fantastic. So can you recall a time when you had a great idea and it was all foreplay and no follow through? Can you bring one of those to your forefront of your mind right now?
Yeah, absolutely I can.
Cool. Now I want you to look at yourself at that moment, at that time when you were doing that. What was going on with you? Objectively look at what you were doing. In
life, or what I was doing for my creation?
That moment, for your creation. So what can you see yourself in the excitement in the foreplay, and what was going on then?
Yes. I was actually just like coming into creation of a new course, and I was so excited, and everything was just like jazzing and moving and shaking, and I was like, okay, I love this. And then I started thinking a lot.
You started thinking.
And the thinking, I think, yes. And the thinking is what created the struggle.
Okay. So let's be really clear about a couple of things, because a lot of people will say, get out of your mind, get out of your mind. That's great. And there is the intellectual mind that we embody completely in our whole bodies, right? In our heart. And then there's the brain. So were you in your mind, which was embodying all of you, or were you in your brain?
Yeah, sorry, my connection seems to be cutting out a little bit. But yeah, I was in the space of creation, and then I took it from a space of creation and moved into my mind. So then it was like a space of contraction. Right.
So you went to your brain, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just differentiating between the two, because this is what happens, is we leave the space of excitement. Okay? Mm-hmm. You can imagine the space of excitement is one room, and in there it's play, and there's paint, and there's balls to play with, and there's music, and there's all this yummy fun. You know, there might be animals, there might be people we love. They're all in there. And we walk out of there, and we close that door, and then we walk over, right? And we walk into this other room, and it's a sterile room. And then we go, I don't know what to do here. right? And we separate. So were you in those moments separating from your excitement?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I think part of it was because, and I might be actually making your point right now just because you coach me on so many business things. But I think part of it was I was in the excitement and the play and the fun, but then my logical brain interfered and was like, oh, maybe I should change this, or maybe I should change this, which wasn't as fun, but I tried to make it more logical, which was not fun at all.
Okay, perfect. Now, I want everybody to understand, so I'm coaching you, Jen, while I'm talking to everybody else listening, right? But every aspect of business can be and should be present in all your creations, okay? And it's a muscle to do this. It truly is a big muscle to do this. But, Jen, logic is not the enemy, right? Logic is a great, great thing to have, right? So, for instance, if you were going to set up shop, if you had a coffee shop, right, and you were going to set up a coffee shop, and you said, well, I live out in the country, so of course I'm excited to be able to be with my business all the time, so I'm just going to set up a coffee shop at the end of my driveway. And logic might go, well, does that really make sense? No, I'm excited. Stay away, logic. It's like, okay, this is a dead-end road. This is a dead-end road. No, logic, be quiet, right? So logic has its place with you. And logic says, hey, that's great. There's lots of opportunity for coffee shops in this vicinity. Where would be a fun place, a generative place to actually set up shop? So you still got the excitement with the logical question coming in. Get that?
Interesting.
Okay.
Totally.
Then the next piece is saying, okay, what do I actually know about coffee? Actually, I know nothing about coffee. Well, that's weird. Why would I be excited about a coffee shop? And if you check in, it's like, no, there's something within me that is so excited about a coffee shop. Don't go into this doesn't make sense. I've never had a coffee shop before. I actually don't even drink coffee. I like coffee. I don't know who drinks coffee. Like, don't go into that. Allow that birthing to come through you. Now, I want to tell you that when some of these creation ideas, excitement starts to come through you, Jen, it does not mean that you are absolutely going to start a coffee shop. It may be what the universe, what your business needed to used to catch your attention. Okay? So, right? So, for instance, when I look at the business that I started, right, I got so excited. When I was working, the job that I was working at, things had changed so much within that organization. And I was a professionally trained, years. I had so much under my belt of qualifications and experience of human resources. And logic said, you've spent years, you've spent money, you've created a name for yourself in human resources, right? And when that business that I was working for started to change, I went, okay, I'm going to start my own business. And logic came in and said, yeah, you could be your own person in human resources. You could start your own business in human resources. So I set up shop. And guess what? I never brought human resources into my business. Now, I consulted for a couple of companies. People came to me, but the desire for me to actually go out and search for clients never, ever, ever came in for human resources. But it's what my mind or my business needed to use to pull me into setting up my own business. Does that make sense?
I love that. So what I'm interpreting it as is that the excitement isn't necessarily the destination. Sometimes the excitement is just a stepping stone.
Yes. And so
Yes.
that's why on every process of the excitement, keep fanning those flames of foreplay. Keep fanning them, because they are going to continue to show you next step. Keep asking questions. Allow your business to come through you. And the way your business comes through you is speaking to what turns you on and lights you up. Because, Jen, what do you pay attention to? You don't pay attention to the things, and you don't take actions on the things that you do not like. You take action on the things that turn you on. You didn't marry a man that didn't turn you on and light you up. You married a man that turned you on and lit you up, right? Like,
right, yeah.
You talk about your marriage all the time. Well, you're not going to choose him because it's logical, because where does that fall, right? Where does that take people? Now, you don't want to only choose from logic either. How many people could you name right now, Jen, who went to school and did the right thing and took the correct job and they now are your clients?
I was going to say, that's my entire clientele.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I really want to say to you, Jen, is first of all, do not eliminate any aspect of your excitement, any aspect of your emotional, spiritual, or intellectual mind in the creation of your desires. Okay? Every aspect of this is important. When you're willing to keep both the excitement door open and you're willing to keep the business process door open, they start to flow together. And if you find yourself, Jen, in that space of going so deeply into that logical mind of yours, go back and dance with and play with the idea. Because every time when I get into a space of, oh my God, I don't know if I want to keep doing this, or I'm frustrated or whatever, right? I go back to that moment and I replay that moment in my mind and in my body when I started to think about the business that was wanting to come through me. The same with a book that I'm writing. I have had this book idea for quite some time, and it has not fully come to fruition. I'm working on it, and I've been flaming it even more in the past few months. But when I'm feeling kind of flat with it, I go back to the original experience that started to come through me, that excitement, and I ask some questions about it. Do you still desire to come through me? Is this still something that lights me up? Is this something that desires to contribute to me? And just getting an energy from those questions can continue to take you on your next step, and so on and so on. Okay?
I love it. Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go. You're so welcome. We're going to go to our next break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more. Before the show ends, I definitely do want to talk a little bit more about bringing things through to the follow-through. And I do know that we have another caller that's going to be joining us. So stay tuned, everybody. You are listening to Christine McIver here on Inspired Choices on the Inspired Choices Network. And if you have a question, you please feel free to email me, Christine@inspiredchoices.ca, or feel free to come join us in the chat room at the Inspired Choices Network. That's inspiredchoicesnetwork.com, and where we can communicate with you right in the chat room, or you're welcome to call in. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on our past experiences or what others believe. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire for our futures? When you join Inspired Choices Radio Show with holographist coach Christine McIver, you'll be provoked to look at what is true and what you know but may not choose that requires your attention. Christine does not hold back and brings all her expertise during each and every show. Are you ready to create the life and the living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show. every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you ready to have pleasure with your business? Yes, I said pleasure with your business. The Pleasure of Business a la carte will surprise you with topics like meet yourself in the boardroom, money, services, and you. Expand your visibility. The pleasure of communication. The pleasure of Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Christine McIver has so much pleasure with business and loves teaching all things business. Beginning a new business? Desiring to expand a current business? Or looking to resurrect a business that has been dormant? This program will get you fired up and bring more pleasure than you have ever imagined. Exhausted with your excuses for not creating a phenomenal business? Join now for all the pleasure with business. Pleasure of Business a la carte gives you total choice for what you desire and what your business requires. That's 24 weeks of different topics to choose from with weekly calls, audio and video recordings, and PDFs. This class will have you dive right in and use tools to create the business that has been speaking to you. Go to inspiredchoices.ca for full details or join the Facebook page Pleasure o' Business a la carte. Now is the time for you and your business.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with holographist coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program, call in the U.S. 815-880-8255, Canada 613-800-8736, or Skype us at Inspired Choices Network. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine at inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're here tonight. I'm having such a great time with the creation of this show. Of course, tonight we're talking about are you all foreplay without follow through? And, you know, one of the big things that I want you to understand, and I am going to take a caller in just a minute, but one of the big things that I really want everyone to understand is that if there is something that's desiring to come through you, and you know it is because it gets you excited, it turns you on and lights you up, please know, always remind yourself, even in the tough days, that what you desire, if it comes to you, it absolutely is possible. All right? The universe doesn't set you up for failure. The universe doesn't tease you. The universe is not a tease. There's a tagline, the universe is not a tease. The universe does follow through, and the universe does desire you to have all that is bringing to you. So if there is something that is not working, if there is something that is stopping you, one, do you have support? Are you working with a coach? Because every single person in the world, in my interesting point of view, should have a coach that they work with. I absolutely work with coaches. He follow through on my desires. And I can tell you that over the years of having my own business, I have done both personal development work and business development. And I have created an amazing team of people that I work with and work with me and my creations. You know, sometimes your creations come to play with more than just you. So you've got to be willing to look at all of these areas and allow it to really grow within you and within your business. And above all, my friends, you probably do not have all of the skills and all of the tools to bring everything to fruition, all right? That's why other people have different skills. And when we start to marry those together, that's when the magic can really happen. So if those skills, if you don't have some skills that you know are required, start to ask some additional questions, because you may be surprised what the awareness will bring to you about this amazing desire that's actually grabbed your attention. Okay, we are going to take our next caller. Sailor, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's fun to be here.
Cool. So what question do you have about foreplay and follow-through?
Gosh, so as being an embodiment coach and looking at foreplay, I love foreplay personally, and I do a lot of it in business and creating with classes or projects. So I guess my question would be, what is it that gets the project or the creation from okay, I have it, I want to play with it, these are some things I are doing, and then getting it, I don't know what I want to say, finished, but to a place where it's ready to be published.
To be brought out into the world.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Okay. Well,
yes.
sometimes,
yes.
as I was saying, sometimes it's really looking at what is required. So if we look at, let's say you have a brilliant idea of building a house, right? And you can see this house in your mind. You can see all of the rooms. You can see them, how they're decorated. You can feel the grass on your skin. You can feel the sun on your face as it beams through the window in your living room, and you can feel the warmth of that home around you, right? You get the energy of all of this, Sailor?
Mhm. Yeah.
But you don't know how to dig holes. You don't know how to pour concrete. You don't know how to put up, walls. You don't know how to drywall. You don't know how to do electrical and plumbing and all of those pieces, right? So you could do a couple of different things, right? So you could say, okay, well, I'm going to work for the next 50 years, so I have the money that I need to actually go and purchase the house that's already prepared, or I could go into massive expenditure with a bank and get a mortgage, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Okay, none of what I'm proposing is wrong. If the desire, when you look at the possibility of bringing that house to fruition, and that idea of working for 50 years comes up, and it just goes, right? It just like takes all the air out of the excitement. I would say,
yeah.
You know what? Let's keep asking questions, right? And then you maybe ask, okay, so what else truly is available here? And you might get the idea, a crazy idea might come through. Well, what if I was to create this with someone else? Or what if I was to give this company an opportunity to build this beautiful home so that they could actually start to build up their reputation of being builders? Or do you understand what I'm saying? If you are bringing something, if something's desiring to come through you, it may not be all your hands in the creation of it.
Okay, yeah.
And right, this is really key, because I know when I first started, when I first started my business, I was looking at, okay, well, I need a website. Well, I went to conclusion I don't have the money. So I spent about 100 hours teaching myself how to build a website. Now, Sailor, 100 hours of building a website, there was probably about 85 of those hours I was in massive frustration. Could I have better utilized those 100 hours?
I'm sure. That would be like me building my own website. I would spend probably 85 hours in frustration.
Right. Exactly. So if you are willing to ask some unique questions, and play with these ideas. One of the biggest things that I'll tell you that really contributes is playing with, and especially if you're a very creative person, is play with a piece of paper and a pencil. Play with a piece of paper and a pencil and write down the desire. Just put the desire at the top, right? And having my beautiful home come to fruition. And then start to really write down. So what you're doing is you're building the swelling of your desire, okay? And write down how you are going to feel. What's the experience that each of your senses are going to have. The smell, what you will see, how the carpet will feel, what's the experience of maybe getting into the tub. Get really in tune with all of those creations with all of your senses, and keep writing. Because when you do that, Sailor, with whatever the desire is to come to fruition, mm-hmm. more of the ideas will start to come through you. Because when you're playing with a piece of paper and a pencil, as we were talking about with Jen earlier, you are out of the brain, but you're allowing the ideas to come through the mind at the same time as fanning the flames of the desire. Okay? When you start
Sounds good, yeah.
Right? And then when you start to look at, okay, so what's required for this business idea? What's required, right? And you kind of start to list out the different things that are required, and you just look at these different steps that are desired. Like if you're creating a book, right? Who's going to write the book? Right? For me, my book was created from me talking. Me sitting and writing, Sailor, that just about made me throw up. But the idea of book was still very large, right? So I asked, okay, how could I do this differently? So it's coming through me from radio shows that I have done. Did you know that more than 50% of books that are out there are actually created from audio recordings?
I figured audio recordings are blogs.
Yes, but it's just so exciting because it means that if you have a traditional way of creating something in your mind, right, that can actually keep you stuck. But if you start to play with, okay, what's required and how can that be created, then when you go to the next step, like, okay, so publishing, what would be fun? And you start to ask for the contributions from that desire. The sometimes unusual or maybe sometimes straight up logical thoughts will come through for that creation. But one of the biggest things is playing with your creation. Are you a painter at all, Sailor?
Am I a painter?
Yes.
I used to.
You used to paint? So did you have when you painted, did you have the full vision of exactly what that creation would look like at the very end?
No. I sometimes didn't even know what it was going to look like at all. The paint went into the brush went into the paint onto a wet piece of paper, and the color flowed. Literally.
So you allowed, what you were doing in that moment was you were allowing the creation to lead, right?
Yes. Yes.
You weren't allowing the logical brain to lead. Now, the logical brain said, I need a brush, I need paint, I need something to paint on, right? So they contributed. But you allowed the creation to lead. So how many of you, including yourself, Taylor, are not allowing the creation to lead, which is leaving you at the starting point continuously? So that we never get
fair
going.
amount, yeah.
right?
Yes.
So would you be willing, Sailor, to begin to play with your creations, knowing that they're leading, you're not?
Yes. I'll ask him more questions.
Awesome. And play with it.
Thank you.
Ask it how do you want me to play with you?
Ooh.
There you go. That was a good one. I'm sure you didn't pull that one out of me at all. Thank you for calling in, Sailor. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, my friends, you can see that when you are in creation and when you are willing to play with it differently, and you are really willing to understand the creation process begins with you and your excitement and all the other aspects of creation that are available, but you're not driving it. You're not driving it. The creation is driving it. You are actually the paintbrush. You are actually the canvas. You, my friend, are part of the element in the creation, but you are not the creation itself. And I'm telling you that, yes, you could create a business with your logical brain. Yes, you can be financially successful with doing what other people have done in the way they're doing it. That is absolutely something that lots of people do. What I have found, though, is many, many people stop themselves from both enjoying and growing in new directions and new possibilities when they do it only from the logical brain or the way it's been done in the past. And that what you're doing is you're actually cutting yourself off from the totality of both pleasure, prosperity, and creation. When you believe that you have to drive all of this, you really do cut off bringing these amazing ideas to fruition or bringing you to something that is absolutely going to contribute to you. Hence, the human resources consulting that now I am on a very, very different path. My friends, this has been an exciting show, and it's certainly something that I will myself continue to play with. If this is something that you would love some support on, I would love to be your coach in that area. I am a possibilities coach. I'm a holographist coach. I work with those ideas and creations that are within you and work with you to bring these to fruition. Whether this is in a relationship, whether this is in your business, whether this is in any area of self-confidence or joy within you. And I do have a strategic business package that is available to each and every person. Do check out my website, inspiredchoices.ca, where you will see all the aspects of what I can bring to the table with all the tools that I have gained over the many, many years of doing my business. Be sure to connect with us next week. We are going to be talking about desire without action. Is that you? Do you feel a pull towards your desires but aren't taking action? That definitely is going to be a continuation of tonight's show. I so appreciate you being here, and I so appreciate the callers that we've had tonight and all of the beautiful comments that I receive on all of these creations that do come through me. Until next week, my friends, I want you to always remember, no matter where you are with yourself or your business, please remind yourself again and again that you can always make another choice. Until next week, have a great week.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Inspired Choices Radio Show. Christine McIver will return next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, be willing to choose what you really desire. This is your life, making the choices that bring you all that you